So welcome, student Christians on campus. We'd like to address some of the hot topics we wanted to touch this semester. And one of them is one that you're going to face either on your first day of school or at some point in your schooling at the University of Cincinnati. And that is, what is life? And I'm not talking about what is life in a metaphorical sense as if saying, well, what's your purpose in life? People say ball is life. People say this is life. And what they're really talking about is, what is life's purpose for me? Or what is the purpose of life? What do I have to do in this life? But that's not what we're referring to today. We're referring to something you're going to touch many times, and in particular in your science classes, and it'll make it seem as if the Bible is contradicting everything that you're seeing in science, and that is, what is life? Life itself. Well, life itself, even in science, is yet to be determined. ... Science still can't even tell you what is life. And what do I mean by that? Well, what is life? Does it have to exist in a way that it's self-existing, self-sustaining? Does it signal? Does it have a means of metabolizing? Well, viruses, are they life? Well, a lot of scientists don't think viruses are life. Others argue that viruses are life. Well, the thing is, science doesn't know what exactly life is. Well, here's the striking thing. The Bible tells you exactly what life is, but in a very particular and specific way that actually is very much in harmony with science. Okay? Well, what do I mean by that? Well, let's look at the Bible and see what it says about defining the word life. Well, to begin with, this word life, as complex as it is, it's also quite complex in the Bible. In the Bible, actually, the writers of the Bible decided to use 3 different words to define life. 3 different words that are translated the same as the word life, L-I-F-E. In the Bible, there are 3 different words. So it's not so clear when you see it in English, but when you go back to the original language, you realize that's a different word. Well, the first one would be in 1 Timothy 2, chapter 2. And the context is the writer exhorting the believers to pray for those in high places, the kings, that we might lead a tranquil and quiet life. Well, what kind of life is that? That word in the Greek is bios, and it refers to physical life. This is where we get the word biology from. Biology refers to all of physical life. Okay, what kind of physical life? Well, we'll let science determine that, but it is referring to physical life. This is where it's talking about your physical body. Okay, so that's one form of life. Well, there's another form of life the Bible talks about that when you look at it in English, it's the same word, L-I-F-E. And that is Matthew 16:25, where it says, "Whosoever will save his own life will lose it. And whosoever will lose his own life for my sake will gain it." Well, what life is that talking about? It's not the physical life. It's not talking about dying. That word in the Greek is psyche or psyche. And that is where in English we get the word psychology. And that's not in reference to my biological life, my physical life, but actually it's something deeper than that, that even science tells you. There's something deeper than your physical life, and that's your psychological life. And the Bible even mentioned that in Matthew 16. So now you've got 2 lives, the physical life as an outward shell to touch the physical realm, and deeper than that, you have the psychological realm, and that's your psyche life, to handle, to think, to handle the abstract, the reason, the logic, the feelings, the will, the desires, decisions you make. That's your soul life, okay? But now, there's one more life the Bible talks about. That's 2. The third one is in John 10:10, where the Lord says, "I have come that you may have life and may have it abundantly." What word life is that? Well, guess what? It's not bios. The Lord did not come that you may get more of this, which I lack. The Lord did not come that you may have more of this, psychological life. The Lord came that you may have life. Well, what word of life is that? In the Greek, that word is Zoe. And the writers of the Bible decided to use that word, Zoe, to indicate the divine, eternal, uncreated life of God. Okay, so now how does this word life relate to man? Man whom was created so far, as you can see, with two forms of life. The outward shell is the bios, the physical life. It's housing the psychological life. You have a psychological life. I have a psychological life. And guess what? My English bulldog has a psychological life. My bulldog has a bios life and a suke life. And this is why science just throws man in there with all the rest of the animals. Sure, yeah, man's an animal in terms of science. But the Bible tells us we can relate to that last word, life, the Zoe life, because we were created with something else. And the Bible tells us we were created with a human spirit. This is the deepest part of man. And it is the organ within man that can contact not the physical, not the psychological, but the spiritual realm. And it is through this organ, the human organ of the spirit of man, that we can contact God Himself. So, I hate to break it to you, but my dog does not have a spirit. Only the human life has a spirit. But this is where science breaks down. You can't use a probe, stick it within man, and try to find his spirit. We're talking regarding matters of faith. The Bible tells us we have a spirit, and man can use that spirit to contact the divine life of God, which is the divine spirit as life. So now, how does the Zoe life relate to these two lives we just talked about? The bios life and the suke life. In other words, man. How do these two relate? Well, the Bible tells us in Romans chapter 9, verse 23, that man is created as a vessel. Vessels contain something. Well, God created man in a very special way to contain something special, and that is the Zoe life of God. And for that, the Bible tells us man has another organ. We don't just have the bios life to contact the physical. We don't just have the psyche life to contact the psychological, but man has one more organ deep within, and that is the human spirit. God put within man a human spirit. So in this sense, man is not an animal. Yes, science will pool man with all the rest of the animals in creation, and that's fine in the realm of science. But the Bible tells us there is a distinction between man and all the rest of the animal life on the earth. And that is, man has a human spirit, which allows him to contact the divine realm, and in particular, as a vessel to receive the divine life of God. Now, you may just have your biological life, and you may take care of it and look pretty healthy. You are now in college, and you're taking care of your suke life, your soul life. You're educating it, broadening it, deepening it, right? Enriching it. But guess what? You will always sense a void deep within, and that is your spiritual life. Because nothing can fill that part of your heart except for the Zoe life. So going back to my English bulldog, Trudy, she has a bios life, and that's very clear. We experience it every day. I'll tell you stories about Trudy. She has a soul life, and that's very clear. She's happy, she's sad. But there's something that no other animal on the face of the earth has, that man has, and that is the human spirit. And this is why man is so driven to know his purpose in life, because there's a deep calling within for something real, something deeper than just sports, than just education, than poetry, than science, than research, than innovation, than all of these things. None of these things will be able to fit or fill, actually, the deepest part of man, the human spirit, except for one thing, and that is the Zoe life. And this is why the Lord came to the earth. He became a man to live the perfect human life. Not so that you would just have a pattern of how to be good. Well, He lived the perfect life, the perfect human life. But it's not just to be a pattern for you. It was to die for you, a vicarious death. The man without sin could bear every man's sin and fully redeem man from his sin. But this was not also the purpose of his incarnation. He died and resurrected. And in resurrection, he is now available to his believers as the Spirit to bring the Zoe life into you. When you turn your heart to the Lord and you say, Lord, thank you for dying for me. I open my heart to you. The Zoe life of God fills your human spirit. This is what it means to be a Christian. This is what it means to be regenerated. And this is the beginning of your Christian life. Are you done? No. That Zoe life, the Lord came that you may have it abundantly. And what that means is that you would experience that life in every part of your soul life. And you're going to need it in college. You're going to be pushed. You're going to be stretched. You're going to have anxiety. And let me tell you, you don't need a pill for that. There is the Zoe life of God that can meet that need. You need peace. You need joy. You need excitement. Guess what? There is the all-inclusive pill, which is the Zoe life of God. So I hope this little video helps you and you'll never forget that science class trying to annihilate the thought and make the Bible seem like a children's book. Listen, they're in perfect harmony. They just don't know what they're talking about. Science and the Bible are in full harmony. Now, I also hope you realize from now on, you have a deeper part, and that's your human spirit. And I hope you open up to receive the Zoe life of God, that you can begin to experience the divine life of God in your daily life. One quick handle. You want to experience what I'm talking about. That means, how do you do this? Well, you just stop inwardly. You're walking from one class to another, and you just say, Lord Jesus, I love you. Lord, I need you right now. My bios life is hurting. I didn't sleep last night. My suke life is stretched. I feel like I'm at my end. I need you. You can also at that moment experience the divine life of God, where the Lord said, what is impossible with man is possible with God. Thank you.